of course, I am an environmentalist, and again, that is an advocacy that is inculcated in me. So it was quite hard again because not a lot of leaders will adopt a environmental agenda.
In today's episode, we will be interviewing Quezon City's most influential personality that made Quezon City the most successful city since she implemented a lot of policies and projects that made Quezon City the most awarded city in the Philippines. Let us all welcome Mayor Joy Belmonte.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi, Kim.
Congratulations for your recent award. You won the parangal ng QC sa National Top Performing Provinces, Cities, and Municipalities in Strengthening Local Government Finance for fiscal years 2022 and 2023 awards ng Bureau of Local Government and Finance. So, congratulations on the recent award, Mayor.
Thank you, Kim.
So actually, I really admire you for all your achievements as the Mayor of Quezon City. And I have some questions for you that, which may be helpful for our viewers.
Yes, I'd love to answer them.
So Mayor, how did you get into politics?
Well, it's a long story. My father is a politician. He used to be the mayor of this very city way back in 2001 until 2010. And he served as the Speaker of the House as well around 2010 until about 2016. But I myself have never been interested in politics. I do like public service. I do like serving. And I worked as a volunteer teacher, in fact, in Bukidnon way back after I finished college. And I've always been active in various social civic organizations in school. But my real dream was to become an archaeologist, which I did pursue. So I did the social anthropology in college and then walang archaeology course. So I had to study abroad to be an archaeologist, and I did practice as an archaeologist. But I think there was one experience that really probably was the trigger that probably convinced me that I must enter politics. It was a time when I was doing a project in a city, and I lined up to see the mayor to try to explain to the mayor that we were going to do an excavation in his city because there is evidence for a rich history in his city that we wanted to try to learn more about, through archaeological excavations. And for the information of the viewers, archaeology is different from history because archaeology, you're studying the remains of a civilization or of a people who don't have any written language. But I lined up to see the mayor, and after hours, I was told he was not available, and then I was told later on that they were not interested in what I was doing. And I thought to myself, how many people have concerns that they would like to work on and they think are important, but that because mayors or people in public service roles are not interested, their voices are not being heard. And so at that time, my father was ending his term, and I said to myself, maybe if I were in a position of leadership and decision making, I could listen to those voices that are not being heard and give importance to everybody's concerns. So that was what kind of motivated me to try out politics. So politics per se is not that exciting to me. It's actually quite grim, but in order to get to a position where you can serve and make decisions that benefit others, you have to undergo the political process.
Yes, oh my God, I got goosebumps with regards to that. Actually, that's very admirable for you to take that step into politics. And then since you decided to join into politics, so how was the journey joining? Because, before becoming the mayor of Quezon City, what position did you start with first? So what are the steps that you had to take before you get to this position you are right now?
Well, of course, I had no experience in politics, so I did self-study. I enrolled in courses online in order to learn about governance. It's not politics, but governance, how to govern, right? A public office. And in order to learn more, I ran first as vice mayor of Quezon City. So I served as the vice mayor, and the vice mayor in our context heads the Sangguniang Panlunsod, which is the legislative arm of the government. No? Parang they're like the congressmen or like the Senate in the local level. So I practiced a lot. I learned a lot at that level. And after that, that's policy making. And so I was able to come up with the policies that I think are needed by the city. And at that time, the mayor and I had very different interests. So I'm interested in gender equality. I'm interested in the environment. I'm interested in children's rights, human rights in general. And in the position of vice mayor, I was able to work with the Sangguniang Panlunsod and pass important measures. No? Among them, of course, is the famous Gender Fair Ordinance of Quezon City that gives equal rights to the LGBTQIA+ sector, and many others. No? And now that I'm mayor, these ordinances that I passed as vice mayor, I'm able now to implement them.
Wow. Oh my God, you're so great. During the time when you joined vice mayor, how old were you then?
I will not mention my age. But,
okay, but you're very young.
Much younger than now. Well, it's about 10 years ago.
Yes. So actually, you're a woman of multitudes. You have achieved a lot since you went into position. So I'm curious, how do you balance your life, your personal life with politics? How do you balance it?
Well, when you're in a political position, I think it's quite hard because it's a 24/7 job. You always have to be available for the people because there are going to be emergencies and walang pinipiling oras ang emergency.
Yeah.
No, but having said that, you have to have some time at least for your family and to fulfill your other social roles like being a mother and being a wife. No? So what I do is the rest of the week I work. Evenings I try to come home as early as I can, which is probably any time between 7 to 8 to 9 even.
Yes.
I mean, that's already early for me. And then Sunday, I have a cutoff, like after, let's say, 2 o'clock in the afternoon of Sunday, then I spend that time with the family.
Oh, that's good. At least it's a matter of like balancing your time and making time for the family. So, what are you like outside politics? Another side of you. What is another side of you that is outside politics?
Well, it's very hard to really separate yourself from what you do because I'm not a politician professionally in the sense that I want power and prestige and status and title. I entered politics because I have an advocacy. I have advocacies I want to fight for. So it's very hard to separate those advocacies from who you are.
Yes.
It's the kind of person that you are. So it's hard to separate. But when it comes to, let's say, the work, let's say work hours. The other side of me is I love art and culture, which is obvious because I'm an archaeologist. So I do take time to go see plays, to go see movies, to go to museums, because these are the things that are food for the soul, I believe.
Yes, I agree.
And I think that they help enrich the kind of person that I am. So I try to make time for these extracurricular activities beyond my job, just so that you're not overly stressed as well with the kind of work that you do.
I agree. It's more like work-life balance. So,
and then of course you and I met in the Maarte Fair. So these kinds of things are quite relaxing for me. After a whole week of work, then you get to go around, see also the products made by our local artisans, and those are things that make me happy and inspire me as well.
Yes, I agree with you, Mayor. We share the same interests in terms of like art and culture and supporting local. And you have been recognized for your efforts in promoting women's safety. Can you share a specific initiative that you are particularly proud of and how it has made a tangible difference in the lives of women?
Well, in terms of women's rights and gender equality, I have many advocacies and I'd love to share those with you. But pertaining to safety, of course, we're talking about women feeling safe in the spaces that they're in. So here in Quezon City, we make sure that the whole city, as much as possible, is a safe space for all genders, even the LGBTQIA+. And for women, women, number one, my first act as I guess even as a vice mayor, was to pass an ordinance creating a protection center for women victim survivors of gender-based violence. So, or in other words, vow. No? Yeah, and in this protection center, in the past, when you are a victim, you don't want to report it because you're a little bit embarrassed because there's a stigma attached to it.
Yeah.
So here in this protection center, you're welcome to report. And second, women who want to report, sometimes they have to report so many times to the police, to the medical legal, to lawyers, to counselors. And to recount that story, it's very painful for a woman who has undergone such a traumatic experience. So in our protection center, everyone is there. There are lawyers, there are social workers, the medical legal is there. Everyone that you need to tell your story to are already in that protection center. It's a one-stop shop. So you only tell your story once. And then in that space, you are protected there. No? And beyond that, most women are unable to leave oppressive marriages or oppressive partnerships because they have no economic empowerment. So part of that program also includes providing livelihood opportunities for women. So just in case it's really bad for them already being in a relationship, they can actually leave it. Yes. And they're not afraid that they cannot sustain themselves and their kids.
Wow, that's really admirable because, I've heard a lot of women who doesn't want to leave their relationship and their marriages just because they are already codepending on their husbands and their partners. And it's great to know that you have this advocacy. At least now, women has their safe space to go to because of this advocacy.
Yes,
Thank
and
you
of
for
course,
that,
we're the
Mayor.
first city to also pass an ordinance called Bawal ang Bastos sa Quezon City. So the Anticatcalling ordinance that started in Quezon City and it has been incorporated into our Gender and Development Code. But catcalling or things like harassment, these are things that are not allowed in our city. And as much as possible, sa level pa lang ng barangay, we already train our barangay officials not to allow these things. Our police officers are trained as well to respect all women and make sure these kinds of offenses are not being perpetuated in our city. And I'm happy to learn, in fact, that there was a time when our chief of police, he relieved one of the station commanders just because this station commander was sexually harassing a staff. And I was so proud because usually men, they don't take these things seriously. They think it's a macho thing. But this particular district director of ours, the head of our QCPD, before he moved out, he was reassigned. He relieved that officer just for, well, it's not just, it's for this act. And for that, he gained my respect. And now the message is very clear in Quezon City: women are respected, women are equal, and women's rights are perpetuated in all sectors.
Wow. I feel like when I'm here in Quezon City, I really feel safe as a woman because especially here in Metro Manila, when you go outside, outside Quezon City or the greater part of Metro Manila, it's really scary to be out there, especially when you're walking in the side street. It's like parang, especially there are some people who catcalls you.
Yeah.
It makes women uncomfortable. And I hope that this advocacy expands not just in Quezon City, and I hope that this also reach out to the greater,
Yeah, it's important also that women feel that they have rights, so that they have the power to report and take action when they feel that they have been treated with disrespect. So it's also important to train both our duty bearers, like the barangays and the police, and even us in government, but the women as well must be empowered in our city to really speak out when they feel that their rights are being violated.
That's good. That's really good, Mayor. So, well, in terms of this advocacy, what are the challenges of implementing the VAUSI and what are your current projects?
Well, at the moment, it took a while because when we started with this protection center, and this was in 2010 when I became the vice mayor, it was very hard to convince women to report. So it's actually a long process to be able to implement these kinds of reforms in the way people think, because it's part of our culture that women feel that they are subordinate to men, or that they have to listen to men, or it's it's a cultural thing. When you get married, for example, the priest will say, women, be good housewives. Submit yourselves to your husband. But I guess when that was being taught in, I suppose, in the Old Testament, I mean, iba naman yung culture. And now, sometimes some women feel that they still have to follow that, that line of thinking, which can be interpreted in a different way. It's just being about respecting one another, as co-equals. So that was hard, in effect, that to try to re-educate our women to think about themselves as equals to men, and also to try to convince women that if you are being violated, you do have that right to report, and your experience will be taken seriously. Someone will look after you and make sure that your experiences will be given weight. So it took a while, and that's a major challenge. And until now, it's still a challenge in our city and many parts of the Philippines, where women are afraid to speak out and to report.
Actually, thank you so much, Mayor, for implementing all this advocacy, and especially being the voice of all women, and being the the role model and for the empowering figure that basically everything that you have shared. I feel so empowered as a woman, and I feel safe as a woman, especially you being a mayor of Quezon City. You really did a good job in terms of protecting women, and being named the 2023 Champion of the Earth for policy leadership. What inspired you to pursue and direct Quezon City to fully embrace environmental awareness and sustainability?
Well, of course, I am an environmentalist, and again, that is an advocacy that is inculcated in me. So it was quite hard again, because not a lot of leaders will adopt a environmental agenda, because like I always say, caring for the environment, caring for climate action will not win you votes, given that you only have 3 years. So most leaders like to give dole-outs. Most people like to do projects where there are immediate gains, so that they can be remembered and then people will vote for them. Climate action takes a while, but it's something that you have to do to protect the planet and to preserve it for the future generations. So it is something that, I guess, if you really feel for the future, in a very deep way, you have to do it. And it's not about the votes anymore. And so I was very inspired to take action, because I saw other leaders in other countries doing it. There are leaders that have already identified areas of their city as low emission zones. For example, that's the mayor of London, the mayor of Paris. There are parts of her city she's closed to traffic, so that they can be pedestrianized, and they can be used for cycling, active mobility that is fossil fuel free. And these are difficult decisions that you make, because many people will not like these, have to walk or not bring their fossil fuel cars in an area, just so that we can keep the air clean. But here in Quezon City, I felt that if it could be done in those countries, we can also do them here. So some of the steps we've taken that I guess now are bearing fruit is pinagbawal namin ng plastic dito sa Quezon City. So we were one of the first cities very early on. As Vice Mayor, we regulated first the use of plastic. So sa mga stores, kailangan pag gusto mo ng plastic, magbabayad ka. So nasaan na yung mga tao to bring their own recyclable bag. Tapos in 2019, we banned single-use plastics altogether. So if you go to McDonald's or Jollibee or any of these fast food chains, you will see that the burger is served to you on a plate, not in all these packaging material, because these are waste that are unnecessary. That's one advocacy. The second is, of course, creating cycling lanes, bike lanes. So we have almost 200 kilometers of bike lanes now, and we gave away a lot of bikes to encourage people to bike and to convince them that it is safe to bike in Quezon City. So we have bike patrollers as well. We have urban farms in Quezon City. That is for food security. I think we have about 1,300 farms already.
Yeah.
And then we have a program called Trash to Cash Back, where we encourage everybody, to recycle, to segregate their waste at source. And then yung mga pwedeng i-recycle, pwede nilang i-exchange sa mga pop-up trading booths namin for environmental points.
Wow.
So whenever you bring your recyclables, that could be plastic, that could be metal, that could be bottles, you get points, and in that points you can exchange these for groceries or to pay your electric bill. So we have a agreement with service providers for that. No? So we have all these programs, and then now we have bought electric buses because we already have a Libreng Sakay program, and that already helps the environment because if people ride buses,
Yes.
there are less cars on the road. But now these buses are being electrified. So we've bought our first, I guess our first fleet, which of 8 electric buses, and hopefully by this month they will be out on the streets already to be used. No? And my dream is all our buses in Quezon City, we have about 90 that are servicing the people of Quezon City for free. Lahat yan magiging electric buses.
Wow. So, with all these initiatives, all these projects, it's fun in Quezon City. And the people in Quezon City are so lucky to have you as their mayor. And I'm very speechless because I'm very impressed with all these projects with regards to the Quezon City initiatives. And
yeah, we have others. I mean, now
Yeah.
our city hall is solar,
Yes.
and solar powered. And then yesterday I just signed a memorandum. So 50 of our schools will be solar paneled as well, and our 3
Wow.
hospitals. So we're also about to pass an ordinance, which is called the Green Building Ordinance of Quezon City. It's actually, we already have one, but we're going to enhance it more. And this is to encourage everyone to adopt renewable energy, solarize if they can, and other kinds of renewable energy that are safe for the environment, and also to adopt energy efficient measures and production, I guess, strategies para hindi nakakasira sa kalikasan. No? So these are things we're doing. We're also trying to double the number of parks in our city. That's one of our goals as well. So if we have at present about 250 parks, well, my goal is by the end of my 3rd term, sana maging 500 yan. Green and open spaces where people can enjoy, and sa gayon yung air quality will improve, and when air quality improves, of course, the health of our people also improves. So actually, people think that caring for the planet doesn't win votes, but actually it does, in a sense that if you translate that caring for the planet means clean water, providing clean air for the people, looking after their health. If it means less waste, and therefore if there's less waste, the landfills are not filled up with methane exuding, I guess it's bad for the environment, the methane gases. And also plastics will not be thrown into the oceans, will not clog up our drainage. I mean, you can actually also talk about environmental stewardship in a way that the people will understand, and that's one of the goals now of mayors like myself who care for the environment, how to make people understand when you say climate action, climate change, climate justice, it's not something that's above your head, but it's really something that is related to their everyday life and does impact their lives and the lives of their children. Like for example, Kim, things like heat, when we had that heat wave last summer, so many kids were not able to go to school. It so impacted education when we have typhoons and floods that impacts education. No? So these are things that we have to address, either by mitigation or by adaptation. And those are the 2 main actions when you talk about climate action. It's how to keep people resilient so that life goes on even with changes in the weather, in extreme weather conditions. But another thing is also being more responsible, minimizing your carbon emissions so that you don't contribute to the worsening extreme weather disturbances and other things like that. So these are things that now, of course, this was advocacy, and because may SK tayo, and the youth are more receptive. So we are starting with educating the youth, and because the SK have their own budgets, we told the SK, okay, try to include climate action in your SK budget so that you, at the level of the young and at the level of the barangay, you can do your part in taking care of the environment.
Yes, I agree with you, Mayor. And of course, change also starts with us. And that's good. And at the same time, we set the example that we want others to emulate as well. So, thank you for being a good role model, Mayor, to everyone, not just to women, but to everyone. And my last question would be, what advice would you give to young women in Quezon City who aspire to become leaders in their respective fields?
Well, I was watching this video on Instagram. It's about the dream gap. And what is the dream gap? It's when you're young and you tell your daughter you can be anything that you want to be. So your daughter starts dreaming, and then later on when she grows up, you tell her, you can't be an engineer, or you can't be a scientist or a rocket scientist or an astronaut because you're a girl.
Yeah.
So that's something that they call the dream gap. And you have to bridge that gap. You have to be able to make sure that when you tell your daughter you can be anything you want to be, that you support your daughter's dreams until the end, until she reaches those dreams. And we have to make sure that our daughters, our kids, our girls are not put in a box that limits them from exploring all the possibilities that can fulfill their potential as people and as women. No? So now, my advice to all girls is dream big, and you can be anything you want to be, and you have to be able to fight for those dreams. And me, on the part of your local government, we are creating more scholarships, more opportunities in, let's say, the sciences and technology and mathematics and engineering that were in the past women are deprived of doing these roles because they were more associated with men. So we're having very deliberate programs that will encourage more women to enter fields where in the past stereotypes prevented them from accessing these fields. No? But that's my advice to all women. Just dream big. Don't allow yourselves to have barriers that prevent you from achieving what you really want to be.
Right. Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you for that advice. So, my dear viewers, I hope that you were inspired with this episode with Mayor Joy. And I hope that do not limit yourself like what Mayor Joy has mentioned. Do not limit yourself and always think outside the box, and let no one dictate what you want to be in life. Thank you so much, Mayor, for being an inspiration to all women. Thank you for inspiring, empowering, and giving voice to all the women who doesn't have a voice in terms of like creating space for them and giving them like livelihood, empowering women here, especially with this video, not just in Quezon City yet, but I hope this episode reach nationwide.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mayor.